With athletes strength and conditioning 4 to 5 times per week, I like to use an upper-lower split for beginners, intermediates, and advanced. However, the focus of the program shifts depending on where you're at developmentally. We will be focusing on those differences in this video. See our creating a program playlist for how I set up athletes training 2 or 3 times per week, along with every other aspect of building a training program. With training 4 days per week, I prefer having an upper body and lower body session back to back, then followed by a rest, then 2 more days of lifting, followed by 2 days off over the weekend. You can certainly take the 2 days off in the middle of the week or utilize another approach depending on your schedule. As a beginner, we are simply going to focus on mastering the basic movement patterns. The program is really simple for beginners. Get really good at a few main movements. If technique looks solid, add weight. Keep the reps smooth and crisp and let the volume and technical improvements drive results. On the screen, you see an example program where they are just trying to master basic sprinting, squatting, hinging on lower body days with an accessory too that helps improve those lifts. And on upper body days, we get vertical and horizontal pressing and pulling each day. Note, I have even set number splits between both pressing and pulling each upper body day. If you want to do 2 different days, have one day, say, focused on horizontal pushing and pulling, doing 8 sets of each exercise, and only 3 of the vertical ones, then switch. The intermediate stage for me happens once the athlete can execute 1 basic lift in each movement pattern with good technique. This technique should be automatic, not that they did 1 good workout 1 time with mostly good technique. Let them master it. Especially if training 4 days per week, they have a lot of sessions and time to progress forward. This stage of training has 2 primary objectives. The first is to teach the athlete to push hard. They have developed a solid base of technique, and now they need to learn how to maintain that technique through near maximal efforts. This doesn't mean 1 rep maxes all the time, but heavier sets of 3 to 5 or max rep sets under higher fatigue. As a beginner, they might do sets of 5 with a weight that they could do 10 to 12 times to allow for more technical focus. That's fine. They are so new to lifting that even being that far away from failure is going to create a stimulus to adapt. As they progress, those sets of 5 need to start being done with a weight they could do 7 or 8 times. Especially by later sets, they're going to start getting real close to failure. An example week will be shown shortly, but I like utilizing max sets, as in the athlete does 4 sets of 5, then a 5th set for as many reps as possible. If they get 8 or more, then we add weight next time. The goal is each week to match the prior week's reps with a slightly higher weight, or to do slightly more reps with the same weight. Start pretty easy in week 1, like 10 plus on the max set, and let them progress those for many months. The next thing they need to do is expand their movement library. They should focus on not just back squatting, but getting competent in front squats, split squats, box squats, pause variations, etc. Have them try many variations of lifts over the months and years. This is how you find what exercises really work best for that particular athlete, along with just expanding their general coordination and ability to perform movements. The same thing happens on the speed and power side. Experiment with many different plyometrics, sprinting drills, throws, jumps, etc. Allow the athlete to feel confident with whatever movement is thrown at them and start to develop the ability to feel what works best for themselves. Now, don't get carried away. They don't need to learn 27 squatting variations, but having a few main movements in each pattern that can be put into the rotation can really help them develop and progress long term. This stage can last multiple years and is really cut short when progress stalls. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to add 5 pounds to their squat every single week for 2 years, but a general progression of movement mastery and strength progression should occur. Maybe they add weight on their squat for 10 weeks and are learning the technique and feel of split squats on another day. Then back squats get a little break from being pushed hard, and maybe split squats are progressed forward for another 8 to 10 weeks. While that's happening, maybe front squats are used as their secondary lift to work on more technical aspects. Then front squats get pushed hard, or maybe you go back to back squats after having split squats run their course. When you return to back squatting, they should be pretty close to where you left off last time, although they might be a little weaker just from not doing them. Progress those forward again, and you'll be at a new PR in no time. By rotating exercise variations, sets, and rep ranges, progress can happen for a pretty long time without much change to this programming structure. Eventually though, this style of programming won't meet the athlete's needs. Advanced athletes have a few key distinctions from their intermediate counterparts. They need more specificity, more variation, and more recovery. In this case, specific work is going to mostly refer to the athlete's time spent on certain qualities. A good base of general strength, speed, and size was built as an intermediate. Now, more specific attention is required to that individual's strengths and weaknesses relative to their sport. Do they need a higher proportion of their training towards speed training or more strength work? Do they need more isolation and accessory lifts to strengthen specific weak points and help prevent injuries? The program becomes more tailored. The more variation comes from rotating exercises and focus points. An intermediate lifter can often do something like 5 sets of 5 every week for a year and add 100 pounds to their squat or deadlift. An advanced lifter has already made those easy gains, and they're going to need more periodized structure. They will need to rotate between, say, focusing on more higher reps, heavier weights, and faster speeds. They won't likely be able to drastically improve all of those qualities at the same time. By rotating focus points every 6 to 8 weeks, the athlete is set to progress forward and maximally be prepared for their season. The exact details of when and how to rotate will be in future videos of our Creating a Training Program series. Just be aware that this does change. They are also faster, bigger, and stronger than more intermediate lifters. This means they create more fatigue from any one training session. Recovery becomes more important. This is facilitated by less overall volume and spreading out hard efforts. Here are some examples on screen of setting up the week. Notice, especially with lower body training, hard efforts are spread apart. Day 1 may be strength focused, with something like 1 plyometric exercise, then heavy squats and heavy RDLs, with maybe an accessory lift after. Day 2 is focused on speed, where the bulk of the training session is around sprinting and jumping, with possibly a few accessory lifts. This gives 2 hard and productive training sessions each week, but focuses on different qualities, allowing for some recovery. Depending on what the athlete likes to do and how they feel with, say, all their heavy work in one day, I've also used this approach. Both days take about the first 30 minutes dedicated to speed and plyometric work. Then each day has 1 heavy movement. Day 1 might be back squats and day 2 might be RDLs, with 2 accessory lifts following that main strength movement. For the upper body, it might be 1 day heavy of horizontal pressing and pulling, and then the other day heavy vertical pressing and pulling, instead of doing all 4 heavy in the same day. The rest of the slots can be filled with some accessory work, or maybe even some lighter of the opposite pressing and pulling. I also typically start with 1 or 2 explosive movements like plyo push-ups, med ball throws, or rope slams. This separates the heavy lifting and spreads it out throughout the week. Both of these options work fantastically and is really about the athlete's preference and how they feel the training is impacting their sport practice schedule. For 5 days a week, I keep the exact same structure except add in a half day. This day focuses on small muscle groups and accessory lifts. This day is where things like calves, neck training, shoulder and rotator cuff work, more intense mobility, and isolation lifts go. This day exists so on the harder days, we can really focus on the big lifts and not worry so much about the smaller accessory exercises. With 5 days, play around with what the athlete feels best doing. Either doing all 5 days in a row with then 2 days off, or going something like hard upper, hard lower, half day, rest, hard upper, hard lower, then a rest day. Adjustments like that are where individualization come into play. If the athlete likes having 2 rest days and their weekends off, use that first approach. If they feel too beat up going 5 days in a row, the second works better. Make sure to keep an eye out as we cover progressing training forward, more specifically over the training year and athlete's career. A brief outline of what is different between beginner, intermediate, and advanced lifters was shown here, but the primary focus was to describe how to set up a weekly training structure for athletes, working out 4 days per week. Progressing that forward and making adjustments based on the individual will be the focus of the rest of our Creating a Training Program series. Please share this video to any athletes and coaches looking to reach their peak and subscribe to the Immortal Power channel.